Hi friends! I have shared with you in past videos about going from being in a wheelchair and not really being able to walk independently to walking again after a long series of surgeries. And that journey sort of culminated in my 7-mile walk. And as you know, the 7-mile walk was one of the most meaningful, fun, amazing, great experiences that I've ever had, because I had tons of people with CMT and their families, and even people in my community come out to the park where I was walking and support me. And many of them walked with me, trailing behind or taking turns giving me an arm. And those who were there and couldn't walk, because there were many others with CMT who weren't up to, long distance walking or were in wheelchairs, they too sat on the sidelines and they cheered me on every lap. And it was just so encouraging to get that sort of a response from my community, and especially from people who understood what it took to get there and go after 7 miles. But none of that is actually what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about one person who attended that walk who had a different reaction. I didn't know who was going to show up that day. I was pleasantly surprised by how many people did. And one of the nice surprises was a neurologist actually showed up, who wasn't my neurologist. He'd never seen or examined me before or anything. He certainly had no obligation to be there. But he was a neurologist from the local CMT clinic. And so he came out to lend his support, not only to me, but to the community at large. And I just thought, wow, that's really cool. What a neat guy. And, he took a lot of time not only speaking with other patients who were there, but actually walking with me. And he did at least one lap, being that person giving me a supportive arm, and we chit-chatted as I walked laps. And it was a nice chat, but he was also, making a few comments like, "Oh, are you okay?" "How are your feet feeling?" And don't overdo it, sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm walking 7 miles. I'm doing better than I've ever done before. This day wasn't about my disability, if that makes sense. And but I understand, doctors are concerned and whatever. And he was very nice. It was after the walk, when I started talking to my family and other people who were there, that I learned he was actually actively speaking to people about how concerned he was for me, and that I was, pushing myself too hard, and 7 miles that's a really long ways to go, and this isn't typical for someone with CMT, and we actually had a reporter at the walk, and I was really excited that he was there, and I was really excited to read the paper when I came out. And in the paper was a quotation from that doctor who was there, and I forget what the question the reporter asked him was, but it was something like, "Are you impressed by what Bethany is doing?" And his response, his quotation in the paper forever was, "I am more concerned about her feet, but I don't want to be a downer and end her walk." And I'm not going to lie, that response really irritated me when I read it. For one, he knew nothing about my feet. This was not my doctor, and my feet were perfectly fine with this level of distance. But also, people with any type of challenge, and I include myself in this, by the way, most of us are looking for any excuse not to do something and not to try. And so when you have a medical professional, right, you have an expert telling you, don't try too hard. Don't think too big. What does that say to you? I'm just really grateful that his voice wasn't around when I was first deciding that I had a dream to walk 7 miles. Because I don't know that I would have. And by the way, I did complete that 7-mile walk that day. And my feet were fine. He's probably like a really good guy and a really nice doctor and a caring doctor. That's the thing, is that people can limit us, but it's not necessarily in a malicious way. I think it's usually not. I think it's often from the people who care about us the most and genuinely want us to be okay. And they don't want to see us hurt, and they don't want to see us fail. But I just want to tell everyone out there, be really, really careful about listening to those voices. Because most of us already have that voice ourselves, and it's usually pretty loud. The voice that tells us what we can't do and what's too hard and that we shouldn't try. And we don't need help from anyone else. Be careful what voices you surround yourself with, and try to spend time with the people who, when you tell them you have a dream, they're like, yeah, go for it. Why not go for it? And let's see what happens.